10 games into the 2025 season, the Twins are making fans hit the snooze bar so they can get another 10 minutes of sleep. They're not pitching that well. They're not hitting that well. They're not catching the ball that well. How are they arguing with the umpire? Mixed results. They're 3-7, and only 3 teams are worse. It might seem like there's plenty of time to get right, but as Yogi Berra said, it's starting to get late, awful early. This much we know. When you come to the fork in the road, get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. Don't forget to hit either. Like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer who remembers picking the Twins to win 94 games. Well, they got to finish 91 and 61 to get there. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter, if you need to impugn my credibility anymore. Across the Great Plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warren, who always gets off to a great start in the morning, as evidenced by his performance in this show, no doubt. Brandon was a Twins fan who became a Twins writer, and now he's both. You can't find us at Puckett's Pod anymore, but there's always Access Twins and Zone coverage. Imagine podcasting about the Twins and writing about them. On the podcast today, the Twins got a lift of sorts from Simeon Woods Richardson, who became their second starting pitcher all season to get at least one out in the 6th inning. It helped, but he also allowed 4 runs, 8 hits, and 4 walks. That didn't help as much. Rocco stuck up for him at the end after a highly questionable pitch clock violation call. Is that any kind of scrap the Twins can use to pivot in their lackluster season? Does that sound like a load of BS? The Twins have had trouble scoring at times. They had trouble against Michael Lorenzen, the 5th starter for the Royals. They did manage to start a couple of rallies at the against the back end of the Royals bullpen in the late innings. Did not amount to much, though, in the end. It is Pablo Day with Lopez in position to be a stopper. Is he going to have to be perfect? His counterpart is Cole Reagans, one of the toughest lefties in the league, or toughest from any side. But first, today's episode, you need to know, is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet, if it is a winner. So you gotta place a $5 bet, and then if it wins,
pick up that W.
You get $250. $250. Hi, Brandon.
Hi.
Simeon Woods Richardson, not great results, but he did go 5 2/3, which is a lot these days. The Twins also promoted Scott Blewett, and I blew it last night when I forgot to mention that in my game story for the Pioneer Press. But he gave him 2 1/3 scoreless in a Dobnakian relief performance. Does that mean that Scott's not going to be available to them and they're going to ship him out today to AAA because he went 2 1/3?
I don't think so, but yeah, it's a valid question. Simeon Woods Richardson deserves more credit than he'll probably get. He wasn't perfect. I thought the changeup looked better than I had seen in a while, and he, in general, kind of gave them about as much as you could have expected towards what they needed. You know, like if you're running a charity and somebody gives you as much as they can, you don't say, "Oh, you should give more." Like for Simeon Woods Richardson, this was a significant contribution, and then for it to end the way it did, I see why Rocco was as heated as he was. I think also too maybe a little bit of the frustration getting to him with how this season has gone. And I noticed nobody said, well, there's the fire I've always wanted to see from Rocco, because guess what? It's selective that the people say this in the first place. And yeah, Scott Blewett, huge lift for a team that, I saw a headline saying the bullpen's exhausted. They've had enough days off that I don't really think that applies. Like, I think they're
bad headline writer there. Bad headline writer.
I think they're taxed. I think they're stretched, but I don't think they're exhausted. Like, can you see the semantics in that? Does that make sense?
Oh, it's not semantics. It's true. I think they are in a position to be, well, if this continues much longer, they are going to get tired, but they're not there yet. And we're only talking about certain relief pitchers at certain times. And Rocco and Mackey manage that with their usage. Like Griffin Jack, still, I think he hasn't gotten to 3 innings yet, so he's not overtaxed. I think they're fine, but the problem, it's twofold. We talked about this before. The Twins, by the way, they're only second now from the bottom, or first from the bottom. They're 29th in pitches in innings per start. The Dodgers are worse. It's highly volatile, these stats, of course, at this time of year. But
and the Dodgers got 6 innings from somebody yesterday. A youngster.
Sorry, it's not Locked On Dodgers. It doesn't matter. But I agree. Maybe it's just a vibes thing, but I agree with what you said about SWR. It was primarily the lift they needed. If the Twins go out and score 6 runs against Michael Lorenzen, who's not a bad. I think that Michael Lorenzen would be a possibly better option than some people in the Twins rotation. But no, if they went out and scored some runs, it would seem like a much bigger lift, because it was the starting rotation has not, for some reasons that they can't control, like Bailey Over getting some kind of virus and Joe Ryan still coming back from his whatever, has not gone deep enough into games. And that is where the taxing of the bullpen begins. And also as we talked about before, the chances of a relief pitcher coming in and not having a good outing, blowing up in your face. You spin that wheel and you take your chances a little bit. Sometimes you want to use the bullpen, from the standpoint of being ahead. You don't want to be chasing all the time, because then you're going to get into trouble. So Simeon Woods Richardson threw 107 pitches, tried to throw 108, but Nick Lentz, the umpire at home plate, thought he was gaming the pitch clock when he went to his ear to indicate that he couldn't hear the signals from Christian Vasquez, and clock was running down with 7 seconds left. He signaled that he couldn't do it. He didn't get a timeout from the umpire. He tried to re-engage the rubber, one of my favorite phrases, and tried to throw with 2 seconds left. And Nick Lentz is like, "No, you're rushing the batter. You're upsetting the victim."
Yeah.
And Rocco, the umpire stood by this in their post-game
pool report or whatever.
Well, they did. We tried to do a pool report. They didn't talk to anybody. They sent a statement well after the game ended, saying basically what they said to Rocco was that the umpire thought that Simeon Woods Richardson was gaming the pitch clock to get some kind of advantage on Jonathan India, and called him a liar basically for saying that he couldn't hear the signals from the catcher in his PitchCom earpiece. So I hadn't thought about it in those terms, that they just didn't believe SWR, but Rocco's like, he's not. It was obviously mishandled by the umpire, misinterpreting what Simeon Woods Richardson was doing. Man, that is a mouthful.
Yeah. That's a bad time to game that. Like, what? The logic doesn't line up there. I mean,
no.
With 7 seconds left, he's gonna game the clock. And it was funny. The umpire's like, "Not on my watch," both literally and figuratively.
Hey, timeout.
Hey-o.
Rocco, you ask about, you mentioned like the fire with Rocco. I thought it was an organic moment, though. Yeah. I don't think he was using that to gin up any. He had to defend his guy there. Like, if he doesn't, then the players would have reacted to that pretty negatively if Rocco didn't stand up for the guy. So he had to do it. I think he did it authentically and organically. Well, after we take our first break, I want to break down the Rocco's rant a little bit with a couple questions for you, what you think. So let's take our first break, and then we'll do that.
Well, March Madness is in our rearview mirror, and we're now on to the NBA playoffs. Make sure I've got the correct ad up there. And for me, for instance, the Wolves trying to find that number 4 spot in the West, maybe even number 3, is huge. And if you want to get in on the action, though, FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action, because right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I personally love how it makes betting so easy. It's easy to bet, easy to get the money. And honestly, it couldn't be easier. And you can find stats to suit your liking, whether it's 3-pointers, steals, assists, player props, you name it. FanDuel has it. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same game parlay, those SGPs that help you win and win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 bonus bets today. Get that first $5 bet to hit, and $250 in bonus bets is yours to keep.
I think Twins fans are waiting for something else to hit right now so they can numb themselves to what's going on. So Rocco comes out. This is Locked On Twins, by the way, with Brandon and Dave, and we're talking about, at the moment, Rocco getting ejected in Monday night's game against the Royals. Rocco came out with a finger wag. He was getting in the umpire's face. You're wrong. I'm right. And
very Dikembe Mutombo.
It was. I thought the funniest part, and I didn't get a chance to ask him about this, but he kicked the plate. It was almost like, I don't know if he was trying to field goal or he was trying to kick dirt on the plate or whatever, but it was kind of funny looking. And he also did some good Lou Piniella. He threw, I think, his lineup card and some other items from the dugout. So it was good. It was, you don't see very often anymore the old school rants from the managers. A lot of that has been taken out of the game because of replay, and umpires can go, hey, I didn't see the replay, I'm not the replay ump. I didn't do it. So a lot of the arguing that we used to see, we don't see anymore. So Rocco kind of took advantage to tap into his inner Earl Weaver or even Tommy Lasorda and go off. I'm just not sure about the extra point attempt on home plate. I don't know if that turned out how he wanted it to.
No, I would assume not. And it was kind of an old timey. I don't know why Whitey Herzog came to mind, because that wasn't him. But yeah, Earl Weaver. And again, it's all relative to what is now permitted in the game today. But I have no idea why Old Blue thought that was what Simeon Woods Richardson would be trying to do. And I get wanting to prevent that, but at that point in the game,
Rocco had a good point. If the umpire thought that, well, obviously the umpire thought that SWR was up to no good, because what he really should have done is call timeout and reset the at bat, which would have been a victory for SWR in a way, I guess.
But fair to both.
It would have been fair to both, because it would have. So,
anything that SWR was trying to pull, as far as pulling wool over India's eyes, would have been negated by that, don't you think? I mean, it would. Yes. I don't think the deception necessarily came into play until SWR realized, I'm not getting this. I got to quick pitch this guy, because I'm now jumping back on the rubber 5 seconds after I stepped off, and it just.
Well, they even said in their statement after the game, the umpire said that we were trying to prevent a quick pitch. Well, you also could have done that by granting timeout as soon as the guy's tapping his head that he can't hear. I don't understand why he wasn't afforded the courtesy of that. It's like I hear these stories all the time. I have a 13-year-old daughter who goes to school, and I know some students ruin it for everybody else, going to the bathroom too much and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But the teachers think the kids are always lying, and they're not always lying. Sometimes 13-year-old girls have to go to the bathroom. And I think the umpires still sort of treat the players like children. And, I'm not out there among them on the field. Maybe they deserve that prejudice. But it was not the finest hour for Nick Lentz behind the plate.
I don't see the logic where, SWR doesn't have a reputation for being a guy who would try to cut corners. And I don't know. Grant him that. Worst comes to worst, go check it, and if you can hear it, then maybe enforce something. Then I don't know, but you'd have to be pretty quick on your feet to lie about that. And then what? Oh, all of a sudden it comes back on, or you go get new batteries. I I don't understand what the grand payoff is in Blue's mind as far as what SWR was trying to accomplish. He's into like uncharted territory pitch count wise, maybe not uncharted, but definitely where he rarely treads rather. There's no reason for it. It was an ump show, as Keith Law used to say.
For sure. Well, hopefully Rocco will kind of work on his kicking game a little bit. He likes to wear soccer jerseys from time to time. So
do you think he can kick a 40-yard field goal with ease, though? That's the important thing.
Actually, I don't know. With Rocco's mitochondria issues, maybe not anymore, but he was a great athlete in his day. So
I wanted to pitch a story to the Twins about if they considered drafting Rocco, because in 2000, which I believe he went like top 5, the Twins had the number 1 overall pick and took a pitcher named Adam Johnson, who never became much of a thing. But I have to believe Rocco would have been in that conversation. And then imagine kind of like butterfly affecting, Rocco goes to the Twins and how that all happened. I thought it'd be a fun story. Probably not something I should write. I don't think I really have the chops for it, but it was a story that I texted Terry Ryan about, and he's like, you should talk to the scouts back then, because they probably have a pretty good story for you.
I'm interested. I want to know.
Yeah.
But that's a good idea. So how are the Twins doing so far? We know that they're 3-7, and that's not good. The starting pitchers have a 6.90 ERA.
Not nice.
Is that good? In 45 and 2/3 innings, over 10 games.
It'll get you a seedy phone call for $1.99 a minute as an area code. Probably not a good sign. And you're getting close to that.
That sounds like something illegal going on in Barbados, for sure. 6.90.
I got a call. It says it's from the 690 area code. I'm pretty sure that it's a prince asking for some money.
So I missed that guy. I haven't heard from that prince in a long time.
Well,
so they're at 4.52 innings. And if you try to ever pitch half an inning before, good luck making the math work. Second from the bottom, only the Dodgers are worse, as I mentioned. No team averages as much as 6 innings per start. So that's the ceiling. The Phillies and the Reds are just below that. They get 5.9 innings per start from their starters.
It's
of the
funny
30
how
teams
3 outs
in the league.
Sorry, yeah. It's funny how the difference of 3 outs is such a big deal, but it is. It really is.
It is, and because it will add up over 162 games. It's right. Not so much a big deal yet, like we said, but the Twins are setting themselves up for more losses. Great.
It's 500 outs over the course of a year, thereabouts.
Right.
So that is different. Yeah.
The Twins on the hitting side, they're not. We said at the beginning of the season, well, they're hitting into some bad luck, and they're hitting the ball hard, and they're just not really getting any traction. They're not hitting the ball as hard as they were before. They're 16th in exit velocity right now, 89.3. I'm a little confused about hard hit percentage, because even on the FanGraphs website, when you go to hard hit percentage, it says, if I read it correctly, 31.5. But if you go to StatCast, which is also on FanGraphs, it's 37.1. But the rankings are also, I know this for sure. They're not hitting the ball as hard as they were. They're 16th in barrels. They're 28th in slugging, so the results are really bad. And weighted on base, they're 29th. So that weighted on base is a pretty good way to see how you're hitting. There is still a little bit of they're 5th from the bottom, worst BABIP 245. So they have some bad luck still, but it's not how it was before. They are except for Wallner and sometimes Castro and Bader, they're not hitting much at all. So Wallner's last 5 hits have been singles, though. So
I just feel like Jose Miranda goes up there and hits a soft pop fly or fly ball to someone, and like even Eddie Julian pinch hitting to end the game, he rocked that ball, but right at Massey, who's very good defensive second baseman, and that was it. The barrels going down. That's why gas prices are up, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is because the Twins barrel rate is down.
No, OPEC, please.
What stat is OPEC? Weighted on base. Okay. But no, and to say that exit velocity thing, like the context of it is it was really high to start. So it has tailed off a lot to get to this point where they're roughly league average or right around. And I've grown to be kind of skeptical of like if hard hit rate means anything, because like you said, I haven't seen a strong correlation. If you click hard hit rate or medium hit rate on FanGraphs, you just kind of get some names. Like, yeah, soft hit rate is probably going to be predictably bad for a guy with a high level there. But I haven't seen a ton of correlation. Again, I'm not exactly a genius. So mostly to me, I just see empty plate appearances with soft contact or softer contact. It's frustrating, and it's frustrating from my standpoint that I know these guys have performed better. Like, did Jose Miranda decline that much from the first half last year to now? I highly doubt it, but for whatever reason, he's not getting good swings. Correa, I saw an interesting stat, 5 runs below average on pitches right down the middle. That was Parker Hageman of Twins Daily.
I saw that too.
Still ripping the ball.
He's topping.
Yeah.
He's topping. Brandon, you were a hitter. What does that mean? I know he's getting the top of the ball, but why?
It explains why he's hitting so many ground balls and still hitting them hard. His bat speed is hard. He's swinging hard. He's hitting it hard. But if you're catching the top end of the ball, you're not back spinning it like you want to get it to drive in the air, and it results in hard hit balls. However, right into the ground, which, I mean, MLB teams turn those into outs, was like 70 some odd % of the time. So
yeah.
And they very rarely go for extra base hits. It's pretty simple, pretty foundational. But it's certainly no less frustrating when he's hitting behind Matt Wallner, who's been good at times, but certainly not great. Byron Buxton has been good at times, certainly not great. But the top third of the order, I think I pulled this data for yesterday's game and they used it, was like lowest or second lowest OPS from their hitters 1 through 3. Very few offenses can run when that's happening. And we're seeing it in play, in practice, in front of our noses every single day right now.
We're gonna come back after this break and talk a little bit more about the Twins defense. I want to make a couple of points on that, and then we will also preview the next game in the series, Pablo against Cole Reagans. We'll do that after this.
I've got my Just Ingredients shake here with me. I even came prepared. I don't know if you can see, but it's not a fake here. It's right up to here. I've had a nice little bit for breakfast today. But when it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. And that's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, like I have here, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with 2-time MVP and Max Kepler teammate Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and his recovery. Again, the ingredients are just like the name says, tremendous. It's just basic stuff, nothing artificial, nothing that's going to clog you up in your innards. But I love the taste of it. Not just what it does for me and how I feel in the morning when I have one of these protein shakes, but it tastes amazing. And like I've had so many different protein powders where it's like, yes, I'm getting the protein I need, but the taste isn't there. This does all of it, and it's just amazing. I can't recommend it enough. If you need to check it out, and I highly recommend that you do, visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get 20% off. That's 20% off, justingredients.us. And if you want more wellness tips, head on over to Instagram and follow @just.ingredients.
Wanted to touch on the Twins defense here at Locked On Twins. We're in our final segment with Brandon and Dave, and I am Dave, and he is Brandon. Right. hard to the Twins defense isn't always helpful. Bader made two amazing. It was weird because it was back-to-back hitters, two amazing catches in left field. He also, I don't know if he misplayed it because he got a bad hop, but there was the ball that he tried to barehand early in the game.
First
that
inning,
dropped
right?
in the first inning, dropped in front of him, kind of took a right turn on him. I think if he gets in front of it and isn't so aggressive trying to barehand, and I think that's a ball that can't get by him. I think the hop wasn't that bad, and we've seen some mistakes from throwing the wrong base or whatever. It's not been perfect. Nobody's perfect, but you know what I mean.
Well,
the Twins defense isn't helping either. Overall, they're 20th in fielding and positional adjustment on FanGraphs. Again, very volatile, and only 10 teams are neutral or better. So defense looks like it's behind the other parts of the game at this point in the season.
Well, isn't that what they say? Hitters are behind, defenders are further. No. As someone who's had that play happen to them a few times, it's kind of like a lawn dart situation where you get so overeager to play the ball and hold the runner at first that you like all of your self is not moving in conjunction to where you pick up the ball at the right amount of speed and basically he just miscalculated and it burnt him in the way that he really couldn't afford it to. You get in such a rush that you forget the basics, and that's where just getting in front of it and picking it up probably would have been just fine. And even if the runner runs, you have just as good a chance to throw them out as you would have doing the run, grab, off balance throw. But the human competitive mind doesn't necessarily work that way in the moment. So a good defender who made a play it's a very common physical error, physical misplay, and he made up for it, and he's made up for it. I mean, he's probably been their best defender this year, I would guess. Maybe objectively, subjectively, whatever. Correa's up there too, I guess. But either way, a play that, it looks unsightly. And then did he have another one that they blooped in there in front of him too, I think later in the game? Either way, he made up for it with the two diving plays. I've been impressed with him out there. He's made plays that I don't think Trevor Larnach even comes close to, which again shows why he was a target for the Twins in the first place. But generally speaking, the defense, it has not been standout. And even if you look at the rest of the league and concede that it has not been, defense has not been at the forefront of how the league has gone this year, it could still be better. It could still definitely be better.
My only point is, when you're not scoring runs and your starting pitching is getting you behind, the bullpen's been good mostly. And if the defense was better, maybe they'd be 4-6 or 5-5, maybe not 5-5, but they'd probably have at least one more win if they had played better defense. So
right.
They can try and get it today. Pablo versus Cole Reagans. Reagans is tough. I asked Ryan Jeffers why. He's like, well, he throws 100 and he's got 3 really good breaking pitches. He does not actually throw 100. He throws about 95. So he was exaggerating a little bit on that. But, Reagan's command of his fastball and his changeup, and he's got a curve too. He throws a slider. It wasn't his best pitch last year, but he's got a lot of different offerings. Other than Tarek Skubal and Chris Sale, it's fair to say he could be like the third best left-hander in the league. And maybe there are some other people in that conversation as well, Max Fried and all that. But and he's good against the Twins. He's got in 28 innings, he's only 2-2. So, we don't really look at pitcher wins and losses. But if Pablo can go out there and throw a perfect game, the Twins are probably going to win.
They'll have a good shot. Yeah.
So that's all it takes. No pressure, Pablo. That's why they pay you the big bucks.
Yeah.
It's going to take. It is, and I said this last year. Sometimes you just need the somebody to step up with all the bad things that were happening to the Twins last year. Hardly anybody did, and Pablo did in the second half. Correa had a good season, but they need someone to step out of their comfort zone and hit a home run and make a play. And they need, if this gets too much worse, it's going to get late awful early for real for the Twins, and they might have to do some things that would basically scuttle the season.
I think Jose Miranda has to be that guy. I really do. Top of the order, you can only go as far as your studs will carry you, but I mean, obviously Carlos Correa, I guess, is probably at the forefront of that. But I feel like if someone is going to have that moment that where things turn around for them, it's got to be Jose Miranda for me.
And Ty France hit the ball pretty well yesterday. He's had some bad luck.
He's got like a 1,300 OPS at the K.
Right. So I think it should be a little warmer tonight than it was last night. That's going to be the key. I think we're not talking about expecting, a huge amount of runs.
Right.
Maybe can they get to 4?
Yeah.
Can they get to 3?
This feels like an offense, though, or a game where you struggle against the 5 and then you hit the 1 enough to win. It's a beautiful, awful, terrible game, baseball, and it never makes any sense, and that's why we watch it. So I think if the Twins were to win 5-1 tonight and score some runs off Ragans, chase them in the 4th or 5th inning, it would and also wouldn't make any sense all at the same time.
Yeah, well, hopefully we made some sense today. And I'm going to read this to you now. Thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And find us too. If you haven't found us yet, you should.
Yeah.
So 32 minutes. Oh, well.
It's all good.
So for Brandon Warren, this is Dave Brown wishing you all a very pleasant, good day. And we will see ya after the Twins game.